think about like if you went to YouTube and you saw an ad, most of the time those ads are pretty annoying, especially when it's a big brand just getting in front of us constantly. Whereas if you're going to look for information about something and then an ad comes in and actually gives you really good advice, you're like, wow, I've just built a connection in less than 10 seconds sometimes with this brand, and I'm actually learning from them. Oh, wow, there's something I can do to further this journey with this particular brand. I'll click that link, go to the website, sign up, and so forth.
This is the show where I bring you the best tips, tactics, and strategies for using paid traffic to grow your business on autopilot. You also hear what's working and not working right now from the top minds in online marketing so that you can get more leads and sales every day without having to empty your wallet in the process. All right, let's jump into it. Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Art of Paid Traffic podcast, episode number 134. Rick Mulready here. Hope this finds you well. Thanks a lot for coming to hang out with me today. Really appreciate it. I am very excited about today's episode because rejoining me here on the podcast is YouTube ads expert Tom Breeze. Tom was he was on the show way back on episode number 6, rickmulready.com/6. So if you've not yet heard that episode, definitely check it out, not only for the content, but you can also hear probably how awkward I am way back because a podcast had just started and I was sort of getting my groove back again. Hopefully it's better 128 episodes now later. And it's been a long time since we've covered YouTube ads here in the show. And a lot of you have been asking for more on YouTube ads. So, in addition, a lot has changed with what's working right now with YouTube ads, which is all these reasons. This is why I've asked Tom to come back onto the show. He is the founder of a YouTube ads agency called Viewability, and he's based in the UK. And he works with some very well-known online businesses. And one thing I like about what Tom's doing with YouTube ads is his agency works on a bunch of different niches. So he's able to give a really good overview of what's working sort of across the board. Now, this discussion with Tom is a wide-ranging talk about YouTube ads, including things like the mindset of successfully advertising with YouTube ads, the difference between advertising on YouTube and then other online marketing channels, the different types of campaigns that you have available, and how to use each of these campaigns to get the best results for your business, how to best set up your YouTube ad campaigns, what kind of video quality is best for different types of businesses, how long your YouTube video ad should be, the anatomy of a high converting YouTube ad, including what to say in the video, what kind of landing pages are getting the best results, and what type of video ad that Tom's been testing right now. It's working really, really well. That's given one of his clients a 30% increase in opt-ins and a 50% increase in sales. So as you can see, we cover a lot of how to get the best results with YouTube ads right now. And the interview is about an hour and 15 minutes long. So I decided to break it up into 2 episodes, a part 1 and a part 2. So today in part 1, we're going to dive into the mindset of successfully advertising with YouTube ads, the difference between advertising on YouTube and other online marketing channels, the different types of YouTube ad campaigns that you have available, and then how to use each of those campaigns to get the best results possible for your business, how to best set up your YouTube ad campaigns, and then everything else we're going to dive in part 2 in next week's episode. Okay. So that's how we're going to break this sort of overarching discussion about YouTube ads with Tom in a part 1 today and then a part 2 next week. Now, before we jump into it with Tom, I want to let you know that I'm doing another live event in May here in San Diego. This is my FBA live event, and which is limited to just 40 people. And at the time I'm recording this, over half of the spots are already taken. Now, FBA Live is a 3-day intimate workshop experience where you'll learn cutting-edge online business building strategies, tips, and tactics that are working right now to grow and automate your business. But more importantly, this is an opportunity to implement, with the help of my team and me, your Facebook ad strategy to grow your business. My team and I will be personally helping you, looking over your shoulder to make sure that you're walking away with an active, high converting Facebook ads campaign. And for those of you who are already doing Facebook ads, you're going to walk away with campaigns that are doing better when you leave this event. Everything's going to be set up and done the right way. We're going to help you discover the blind spots, the things that may be getting in your way of effectively marketing your business online, and then fix them for you on the spot. That's what this event is all about. You're also going to have rare access to and learn from some of the smartest and best online entrepreneurs around. People like Amy Porterfield, Pat Flynn, and more. You're going to be surrounded by other like-minded entrepreneurs who are trying to grow their business just like you. So if you want to learn more and secure your spot, just go to rickmulready.com/live. Again, rickmulready.com/live. Like I mentioned, at the time of this recording, over half of the spots are already gone, and this event will again sell out. So if you want to grab a spot, definitely don't wait. All right, let's go hang out with Tom Breeze. Tom, welcome back to the show. It's so good to have you on here. How's it going, man?
Very good. Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We were just talking right before we hit record here. We're on episode number 134, and you were on episode number 6 of the podcast. And I was joking. I said, you know what? This is the same kind of thing. You and me sitting down, almost as if we're sitting down for coffee or whatever, having a chat. Hopefully, though, I'm better at interviewing than I was 128 episodes ago, though.
Well, I've done a lot more podcasts myself as well, so maybe there's a whole new standard.
Exactly. We were setting the bar pretty high right now. Well, I wanted to get you back on here, number one, because you are the go-to for me for YouTube ads. And as far as looking at any kind of questions and what's working right now, and I looked and I was like, holy cow, we have not covered YouTube ads here on the podcast in a very long time. And so I'd reached out to you and I was like, hey man, love to have you back on the show to talk about what's working right now when it comes to advertising on YouTube. And you'd mentioned, heck yes, there's a lot going on right now that is working really well that you guys are seeing. So before we get into that, give us, for people who have not heard that episode, back on episode number 6. By the way, guys, it's rickmulready.com/6 if you want to hear my original interview with Tom. But Tom, let us know who you are and what you do and what you're up to.
Yeah, of course. Okay, perfect. So yeah, my name is Tom Breeze and I run a YouTube ads agency. We're based in the UK and it's called Viewability. We have clients all over the world. So I think the vast majority of our clients are from the US, but we do have clients in the UK, a couple in Europe as well, and then we have some in Australia as well. So we have clients from all over the world. So my day-to-day activity looks like very hectic early mornings and late evenings as well. So my family life is out the window completely. But no, we run a very cool agency. We love what we're doing and we just zero in on just YouTube ads. And we have a very unique pricing model as well. So we don't charge on a monthly fee or a percentage of ad spend like most agencies. We actually work on cost per acquisition. So that means that we get paid on results. And the reason I say that really is because the stuff we're testing here that I'm going to be sharing with you in the podcast is stuff that actually works. It's stuff that we don't necessarily say, oh, this could work. It's like, we paid money on this and we've run a lot of tests and we know what works and what doesn't. So hopefully I can share some of that stuff with you guys today. Yeah,
you guys are, I remember talking about that with you last time and I've always liked, like that model that you guys are doing because number one, it's unique. I don't think a lot of people are doing out there. And number two, you guys are certainly incentivized to get good results because you are paying on that or the clients are paying you, I should say, on the cost per acquisition. So can you kind of just, for people who aren't really familiar with that model, can you kind of explain how that works?
Yeah, okay, perfect. So the way that it works is that we charge nothing to any clients until they get results. So we talk about scripting of videos because we do the whole thing, right? So we do scripting of videos. The client will do the production, so go and film themselves or kind of create the animation or however we're going to do the video. Typically, it's going to be a person in a video. Mm-hmm. We'll do the editing, so they just send us the raw footage and we'll edit that all up. We even spend the money on advertising, so it's my funds will fund the ad account. And then what we'll do is we'll just measure all the results and we'll say to the client, okay, what are you prepared to pay for a lead? What's your ideal cost? Where do we want to be? Or it could be on an offer sale as well. And we just basically invoice the client when we've generated that many sales. And obviously keeping a track of those numbers is important because we've got to make sure it all works for everybody. But in the vast majority of cases, we get a great return on investment. The client feels like it's a completely no risk thing because they're only paying out of the profits they're generating. The great thing is you end up building a much closer relationship with the client because you're in it together. You both got to win out of this. And if I take on most of the risk, if not all of the risk, and the client benefits, it's just like you work together and it doesn't feel like an agency you're working for a client. It's more hey, look, we're in this together. We're going to work it out and we're going to make it work.
Sure.
And it means that I don't have to allocate a certain specific amount of time per client. It means I can say, do you know what, let's work on this until it works. And it might take 3 weeks to get this to work and real hardcore time. It would be like silly to try and budget that time and say, this is how long we've been working on your account. But it's a bit an entrepreneurial perspective. It's like, you have to do the hard work, and it's a lot of hours where you might not even get it to work sometimes.
Yeah.
But it means that when you do get it to work, everyone benefits together, and it's a much better relationship we tend to find we get.
Yeah, it's the whole testing, like we talk about so often here on the show, having the patience to test things out, that, things are not always going to be a home run out of the gates. It's not going to be overnight success necessarily. That you just mentioned, it could take you, it could take you a couple weeks. It could take you several weeks. It could take you maybe a couple months to dial something in, but you're in this with your client to make sure this works, because you guys are getting paid on the acquisition. That's how you guys are making that money for yourself. And I like that, because you just mentioned it's entrepreneurial, and it doesn't seem like, it seems more like a partnership, as opposed to like, they're hiring you, but it feels less like that you're working for them in a partnership with them to make sure that they get success.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's something that we'll talk about in a minute, but it's like, when we do these tests, I need to make sure that we spend enough money on these tests so we get significant results. So we're like, okay, we know this now works, but it may have cost me $3,000 to work it out for that particular client.
Yeah.
And there may have been like 2,800 of that might have been a complete waste.
Yeah.
But if that was the client's money, I would feel really weird about that and spending my client's money on something that's not working. But I know that I need to do that because I need to work out what is working, what's not working. But then once we worked out what that $200 left that actually produced the result, we can then scale that, optimize it, and turn off the stuff that wasn't working. And then we can all benefit from that result. But also I can apply that same theory to all other clients as well that would fit the same sort of campaigns. So it means that I can learn by spending my own money as opposed to spending clients' money and learning that way. It just feels more fair to me as well.
Yeah. Do you have like a certain percentage? Like, do you kind of go into a campaign thinking or having an idea of how much money that you're going to allocate to testing? Or is it more just sort of like, all right, we're going to put money into this until we find what works?
Yeah, there's only a point at which we say, okay, this is not going to work. Yeah, I don't have a hard and fast rule to say this is what that figure is.
Yeah.
I tend to get a feel for it. So we'll build out certain types of campaigns which we feel like, okay, there's a no-brainer. We should get some really good results from that. And we've been doing this long enough now to know that, okay, yeah, those ones are working really well. With a lot of those campaigns, we can kind of take out a lot of the data from what's happened so far, and we use that data to guide us for the next phase. So let's say, for example, we build 4 or 5 campaigns that we feel like, okay, those ones typically for most clients in this type of niche tend to work really well. Maybe 4 out of the 5 work really well. But the great thing is you can look at all the ways you targeted, look at where the results are coming from, use that, apply that to the next phase, and typically then you can scale up much more efficiently into new areas. So if you run that first test and those 5 campaigns didn't work, that's a point where I normally go back to the client and say, okay, there's something either wrong with the videos we've created or something wrong with the landing page, or maybe we just got this wrong from the start. I don't know what's gone on, but we go through a diagnosis process then with the client. It's rare that we have to do that because it's not normally, you can imagine the screening I have to do prior to taking on a client, because of course we have to be really careful about who we work with, because we normally lose a lot of money in the first month and sometimes even the second month as well.
Yeah.
So I have to be really careful about what clients are working with us. We've got to make sure they've got a good funnel in place already, because I don't want to be spending my money on testing a new idea for a client.
Yeah.
So it's those sorts of things that come up when we first do a lot of inquiries and things. Typically, when a client looks good and we can run campaigns, we start off with the easy stuff, and that's kind of like normally we have a cap to that certain level, but within the first couple of days, we normally look at it and think, okay, we've tested here and it's already working. Great, let's keep ramping up until we hit that kind of point at which you can't ramp up any further, or there's a budget constraint from the client. So yeah, that's the only things.
So let's sort of start there with the types of campaigns that you mentioned. You said starting off with the easy type of campaign. Where does someone start if someone's thinking, you know what, I'm already running Facebook ads, for example. Now I want to start to test out YouTube ads. Where do they start from a campaign perspective? Because I do want to get into the types of videos and the stuff that goes in there, and then we're going to get into what's working right now, or their new kind of things. But let's sort of start with the types of campaigns. And you mentioned there's the easy type of campaign. What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. So if I can just back up for a second, because I think that you're right. I think so many people advertise on Facebook and get amazing results there because it's nice and cheap, and people just know that space because everyone talks about Facebook and everyone gets some pretty decent results typically. And it's a great place to get your traffic in, test out a funnel, make sure you've got a good system working. And then most clients, if they've been advertising them for a while, they'll see the numbers start creeping up because it's getting more competitive. There's only one news feed per person, et cetera, et cetera. They start having to look to diversify. And YouTube's one of those places where it will get very popular very quickly. It's still a pretty kind of like not that many people advertising on YouTube. It's far more than last year for sure. It's still kind of like the great unknown somewhat to a lot of people. But the platform itself is very, very different. And I was explaining this to a client the other day. The way I explain Facebook is rather like a social place. So if you imagined like a town, for example, Facebook would almost be like the local bar or coffee shop or something where you go down there, you connect with friends, and it's a social place.
Yep.
And if you use that comparison to someone like YouTube, YouTube will be like the library, if that makes sense. You go to YouTube or you go to the library because you want to know something, want to learn how to do something. Maybe you're looking to do your research on something. Maybe you're looking to find out something about buying something or get inspired by something. But you go there for a purpose and for a reason. So YouTube is evolving all the time. So now that you can start watching and streaming TV on YouTube, et cetera, it's always going to be changing. But still the mindset you get from people is like they've normally not logged into Facebook. Because when we log into Facebook, it might be that classic thing like I do. Every now and again, I just pick up my phone, click the Facebook icon button, and I just see what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. I just go there because I'm just distracted for a second.
Sure.
But if I'm going to go to YouTube, I'm typically, something's triggered in my mind first of like, oh yeah, I need to know more information about that. Let's go to YouTube and find out. And so the users that you get who are going to YouTube tend to be already motivated. They tend to be already looking for information. Mm-hmm. And so when we get in front of them, they're not these people like window shoppers any longer. They're more kind of, they're in store with us. They're asking the salesperson questions. They're wanting to know more information about products, about how to do something, wanting to know more information about things. And so you can start the conversation at that level. You don't need to be really salesy on YouTube. You just need to be kind of in front of your customers, which we'll talk about in a second. But then just remember just to be useful. Just try and be really helpful to the user. Think about like if you went to YouTube and you saw an ad, most of the time those ads are pretty annoying, especially when it's a big brand just getting in front of us constantly. Whereas if you're going to look for information about something and then an ad comes in and actually gives you really good advice, you're like, wow, I've just built a connection in less than 10 seconds sometimes with this brand and I'm actually learning from them. Oh, wow, there's something I can do to further this journey with this particular brand. I'll click that link, go to the website, sign up, and so forth. And we find those types of ads work a lot better from a return on investment perspective as well. So it's about like kind of that education, like they give a lot of education in the ads and be useful to your users because they're already going to YouTube looking for information. So you don't have to be kind of too salesy. And that's kind of like the mindset we typically have when it comes to YouTube. And I think that's good to kind of cover that from a lot of perspective when it comes to like Facebook applying to YouTube. I know that when we started doing some Facebook advertising, which we don't really do any longer, but when we did do some Facebook advertising for clients, we got pretty good results, but it was almost like learning a new language to learn how to advertise. Is you're getting in front of a very different person at a different time because it's normally based on interests or demographic data as well on Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's a different platform. But I mean, in terms of like the campaigns then, when you want to get in front of these people that are going to YouTube, one of the easiest campaigns that I typically build would be what we call a keyword campaign. We tend to isolate different types of targeting for different types of campaigns. A keyword campaign is really, really useful, and it's recently gone through a bit of a change recently as well. So I believe this has been happening for the last year and a half, but YouTube and Google made it official in January. When you target with keywords, and this is kind of like when you say, okay, if someone types in this keyword, I want to get in front of them. What happens is that if someone types in, let's say, for example, someone's learning how to play guitar. Let's say, for example, they type in how to play guitar into YouTube. Then that search query will get attached to that user. And it's almost like it goes into their search history. So now, if they go and look at other videos on YouTube, we get in front of them because they were once typing in how to play guitar.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to happen at that moment, at that exact moment, but it can happen in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So the beauty of this is that, say, for example, someone types in how to play guitar into YouTube. Then they go and watch some videos about how to play guitar, and your ad didn't show for some reason. But then they go and watch Justin Bieber. I always use Justin Bieber as this example. I don't know why it's him, but I don't even like the guy. I don't know the guy.
You love Justin Bieber.
I am a believer. Yeah. So at that point where the viewers or the user's gone to a different type of video content, your ad can still show in front of that person. So it's almost like you're advertising to their search history. Now that's great from a YouTube perspective because it means you've got a lot more areas to advertise to people, and it's a lot cheaper as well. But the great thing is it also takes Google data in. So say, for example, you've gone to Google and you've typed something in, and then later on you find yourself on YouTube. Then when you're on YouTube, you can still advertise to people based on the search history from their Google search. So it means that like if people feel like, oh, well, people don't really go to YouTube for my sort of content, now you can get in front of those people because they may have gone to Google and typed it in. When they go to YouTube, if they do end up on YouTube by watching a video on that content in any which way we can, then you can end up getting in front of that customer again. So keyword campaigns are really powerful because it's actually based on search history now. And it's limited to that user session, which means that if they were to close down their browser or clear their cookies, then your ads wouldn't show to them any longer. But it's during that kind of whilst that window or that browser's open, if they find themselves on YouTube and they've typed in the keyword recently onto YouTube or Google, your ads can show in front of that user. So we know
if I typed in how to learn guitar, like let's just say I go there right now in Google, how to learn guitar, and then because you mentioned when I close the browser, if I'm leaving Chrome open pretty much all the time, for example, it will still show me that ad if I go over to YouTube. But are you saying if I close the Chrome browser and then go back to it and go into YouTube, I'm not going to see that ad necessarily?
So typically what happens with Google and YouTube is they're a little bit vague with their definitions. So I can't tell you like a black and white what will happen in that scenario. But I mean, as I understand it, and as I've spoken to other experts in this area, what we've kind of agreed is that from the definition is that if you were to go to Google, type in how to play guitar, and then in the next 10 to 15 minutes time window, you're likely to see videos on YouTube that would be ads because of that search query.
Got it.
But if you were to, let's say, for example, search how to play guitar, then you close down your Chrome browser, let's say, for example, or your Firefox or whatever it was, and you closed it down, and then you reopened a new one, I believe that would have ended your session. I believe. Okay. I'm not entirely sure. It's not crystal clear how these things are done, but it used to be based on just if that keyword is in the video. So like say, for example, the content creator used a keyword tag in their actual video when they uploaded it of how to play guitar, then you could have got in front of that user based on that. You would advertise in front of that video. But now it's based on search history. So it's down to the users, where they've been and what they've been typing in. So it's opened things up, and it's also meant it's like a lot more targeted because you're starting to see ads that are actually better for you, which is great. So the platform of YouTube is always improving. And I think it might be because of the pressure of Facebook getting so big and starting to kind of gather a lot of the spend from a lot of brands, etc. We tend to find that YouTube's starting to be a lot more competitive.
They're stepping their game up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's good.
So if you're going to do a keyword campaign, like, do they have any kind of tools? Like, so for example, with Facebook, they have audience insights where you can go in there and do research, for example, to find relevant audiences based on something that you're, if I put in, Entrepreneur Magazine, for example, it's going to give me other relevant audiences that I might be able to target. Is there some sort of similar tool that we can use for setting up like a keyword campaign like this? Maybe somebody might have, 5 to 10 keywords that might come to mind that are, top of mind. Boom. These are the 5 to 10, but then we want to really build that out, or maybe do we want to build that out even more? And if so, do they have some sort of tool to help us with that?
Yeah. So a good tool to get familiar with is a tool called SEMrush. That's a great tool to have. If you're going to be an agency doing this, then you definitely want to be getting SEMrush because it just gives you a lot of competitor analysis, gives you a lot of data that you might not have elsewhere, and it's probably the best tool in the marketplace. But to be fair, I do use, and we do have an account with SEMrush, but one thing that we tend to do is go to what's called the display planner. So if you're logged into your AdWords account, just go to your tools area, and it's called Display Planner. So it's Google's Display Planner. It's completely free. And I think even if you Google Display Planner, you can probably use it. And then you can start adding in keywords, and you can add in kind of like your core keywords, what we call. So like if you know that you've got like 10 keywords that you think these are perfect for my type of audience, as long as they're kind of like all around the same sort of theme, you can chuck them all in. And then Google will give you a whole heap of new keywords that would be relevant as well. So you can literally just like grab all of the keywords that are relevant for you. It might give you like, let's say 200 or so.
Yeah.
Then you can go through and select the ones that you think would be most relevant. I tend to avoid anything to do with free, anything to do with kind of like, sometimes you pick up weird, ambiguous words that can sometimes cost you a lot of money. Like when I've done some of this for like the trading, we got some like trader training type of clients who like Forex markets and things like that. And sometimes you can get like games where you can trade players, like FIFA Soccer, for example, where like the kids are uploading FIFA Soccer. Here's how to trade your players. And so if you're not careful, you can spend a fortune in the wrong place sometimes.
Right,
so
gotcha.
You've got to be a bit careful about that. You can actually add exclusions if you wanted to. So you can say not FIFA. So you can kind of add that in there. I think a lot of brands recently were actually talking about the fact that their video ads were showing up in front of like ISIS videos on YouTube and all this like terrorism type videos and things.
Oh, gee.
And yeah, and they were like removing their spend and things. It's like all you have to do is add exclusions.
Right,
it's like, but people don't realize this stuff exists. Anyway, yeah, so you can use the display planner. There's a keyword planner as well, but we actually use the display planner because it gives you unique insights sometimes, which is really handy. And then grab all the keywords you want, and then just literally inside of your account, you would create what's called an ad group, which is like an ad set on Facebook. And then your targeting would be a keyword, and you just choose one keyword per ad set, or what's called an ad group on YouTube or on Google. So you one keyword per ad group, and then you make sure you've got your ads in that ad group as well. So if you've got 200 keywords you want to target, then you would have 200 ad groups, because it gives you so much more flexibility.
Sure.
And then you can just turn off the ones that don't work, play around with the cost per views if you want to. But you're going to find that out of 200, you might be left with something like 40 that are good for you.
Yeah.
But the great thing is the reach on most keywords, depends on what niche you're in, of course, but the reach can be colossal. So you can spend a lot of money in those areas just focusing on a few keywords. If those gray area ones that might be just about breaking even or close to, or like I think got a lot of scale but just costing a little bit too much money, you can like do things like you can overlay that with like topics, for example, or other types of targeting, which means then you can say, okay, well, my target audience who are looking up this type of keyword, and they have to be watching videos around this sort of topic. That's what I want to advertise to. And then all of a sudden you tend to find the cost per acquisition for a new lead can drop dramatically by adding those topics in to those keywords that are just on that break-even point. It means that you can really start to scale up, but also refine and optimize as you go as well.
Now, when you're doing the one keyword per ad group, in Facebook, I'm not a fan of putting multiple ads within an ad set, just simply because how quickly Facebook's algorithm declares a winner, quote unquote, of one of those ads. Are you putting multiple, and this is my complete lack of knowledge here when it comes to setting these types of things up within Google, are you doing multiple video ads within an ad group, or is it more of one video ad per ad group?
It's a good question. We will actually, when we look at building the campaigns, it depends on the client and the strategy, really. So if you wanted to do a fair split test and you put 2 videos inside of an ad group, you're going to get pretty accurate data. Like Google are pretty good at sharing them out. And you can optimize by views, or you can optimize by conversions. Not that I've seen that much difference between the two. It'll be a pretty manual process. Sometimes Google do run away with one and just let all the views go to one, but then you can just pause it for a time being and let the other one run. You could split them up if you really wanted to and let them run at the same time in different ad groups if you wanted to. What we tend to find, though, is that a really good model that we've used recently is to actually cascade the videos. So we'll do it in a way where we say, if someone watches the first video and didn't convert, then they'll see the second video. If watch the second video and don't convert, we'll show them a third video. And if they watch that one and don't convert, we'll show them a fourth video. But if they don't convert from that, then we actually exclude that user from any further promotion for that particular offer, because it's obvious that they don't want it. If we've shown them 4 videos and they've watched all 4 and they haven't converted just yet, it's like, wow, okay, let's not show any more ads to that person because they're not converting. So when you do that, you would take that video out of that ad group and you would put it into a new ad group, and then you wouldn't use keyword targeting for that second video. You would use video remarketing. So it means that you can build let's say, for example, you had the first video that you wanted to show people. You would build a list of people that watched that video, and then you would exclude those people from watching the first video again. So you only get one time to view that first video.
Okay.
But then you would use that audience to target with the second video, meaning that the people that watched video 1 will be targeted by video 2. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're doing that video remarketing, is it based on, so again, I'm looking at things through the lens of Facebook ads. And in this case here, a video ad and engagement retargeting. So we can retarget based on how long they watch a video. When you're talking about that video remarketing, do they have to watch a certain length of the video in order to kind of fall into the strategy that you're talking about here?
Yeah, so they would be considered a view. So they'd have to have watched the video for 30 seconds.
Got it. Okay.
So so it means that you got an engaged viewer watching that video. And if they didn't convert, it's still worth spending some money because they were interested. Something might have distracted them. They may have clicked elsewhere, whatever it might have been. So it's worth getting back in front of them. We find that if you show a viewer a really, really good video and it might last for 3 minutes or so, and it's a really strong video, enough for them to watch past 30 seconds and then continuing watching that video, then we tend to find that video remarketing isn't quite as powerful as somewhere like Facebook, for example, because with Facebook, you might show an image ad or a short video ad and someone might click to the website immediately and then not sign up, but you can still retarget that individual. With YouTube, when they've watched a video for 30 plus seconds and then they click to the website, they've had a bit more of an experience with that brand. And if they're to say no, it's very conscious no, if that makes sense. It's like, I've made a decision here. I've not just flicked off. I've said, no, I don't actually want that. So then to show more ads to them promoting that same thing, we tend to find it's much better to promote something else. Go for a different route, go for a different offer that you might have. If it was a webinar to begin with, maybe sell them something else like a book, for example, or try something else. We tend not to promote the same thing. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier of really start with the user in mind, think about what they really want. And you don't want to see ads over and over for the same thing each time because you're like, oh God, this is just annoying. I've said no to that thing already. I mean, I like the brand, but I don't want that thing.
I see the same ad. So I listen to stuff on YouTube most mornings, and I get the same damn ad for, I mean, it's targeted well because it's for entrepreneurs and it's about tracking your mileage for your business mileage, and I forget what the name of the company is, but I get this thing probably literally 3 times a morning. And it's super annoying and it's every day. Why am I seeing that? What are they not doing?
Well, they're not doing quite a lot of things, I think. So one thing that we tend to do is we'll cap the impressions per day. So we'll say per user, this can only go to you maybe twice a day, for example. So you don't get bombarded by the same video over and over again. And yeah, it's pretty annoying, isn't it? I know that I had a very similar experience. So my little boy, who's now 2.5, we've got 2 little boys, he can run in from his bedroom into our bedroom in the morning. And he normally just runs in, and he's got this habit around about 4:30, 4:45 of just running in, thinking it's the perfect time to wake up, and then just jumping into our bed and then just jumping on daddy, basically. It's the worst way to wake up in the morning. And so what I do is I reach over for my iPhone and go to YouTube and type in Peppa Pig, which is like a children's program here that he absolutely loves. So I play it. And then I don't know if you do this, but if you triple click the home button, it's like, I can't remember what it's called now. It's guided access, I think it's called. But it kind of locks the whole phone. So at that point, I can hand it over to my kid and Milo can watch Peppa Pig. And even if he presses all the buttons and things, nothing will change.
Oh, okay.
So it's a perfect thing. But the problem is I press play on Peppa Pig and then I triple click it. And there's this ad that appears that I didn't realize was loading up. And it's this ad for a fabric softener in the UK, but it's about this half naked lady in bed. It looks like she's having the best morning in the world. The sun's just coming up. She's relaxing. She's got this breakfast made in bed. And I was just like, oh my God, I hate this brand right now because my experience is completely the opposite of that. Right. So if I see it over and over again, and I just keep reminding me that yep, this is the fabric softener I'm definitely avoiding when I go and buy any fabric softener.
So lesson learned. We make sure we cap the number of impressions that we're showing to the same person.
Yes, and also the number of views as well. So you can do both. You can do impressions and views. So cap those. So if someone watches past 30 seconds, we can cap that as well. So you may say, I don't want to cap impressions per se, but I do want to cap views.
Got it.
It depends on, and it's different. If you're going to do a week-long promotion for an event, let's say, that's a very different promotion than if you're to run something evergreen for a long period.
Sure.
So you might not care too much if you had a lot of impressions and a lot of reach in a week, because you don't mind if there's a big promotion for a week and then it just dies down afterwards, because that's fine. You can do that.
Sure.
It doesn't annoy people too much in that route.
So we got the keyword campaigns, and then we have video remarketing. Or are we missing any other campaigns that people might want to consider doing?
Yeah, so I think we talked about in the last episode, so it might be worth going back, is the placement campaigns. We still focus on placement campaigns quite a bit. So that's kind of grabbing the URLs or the videos that you would like to appear in front of. So you can literally say, okay, if I type in this keyword of how to play guitar, let's say, for example, you can grab all the videos out there about that particular topic, grab all the URLs, and then upload them into your AdWords account and say,
that's right.
Anytime these videos are about to play, let my ad appear in front of. So that's quite a useful one.
Okay.
And there's a tool called V-Roll, which is particularly good for that. There's another one which I think is really powerful. So if you've got a good list, like a good email list, good customer list, what you can do is you can upload those to Google. It's called Google Match, rather like Facebook's ability to upload your custom audiences.
Sure.
So you upload via CSV, and then what YouTube do is they actually build what's called a similar to audience. So it's very, very similar to a lookalike audience on Facebook. A lookalike audience on Facebook will take 1% or however many percent of the population in that country look most like your list. Whereas YouTube do it slightly differently. They say, okay, there's your list. We'll build one that's 10 times the size of that list, typically around about that sort of size, about 10 times the size of that list, but it's based off the data points you've got. So if you had a small list, it will give you another 10 times the size of that small list. So if it was 1,000 people, you might have 10,000 people. If it was 100,000 people, you'd have 1 million. And but on Facebook, it's going to be, I think it's in the US, it's like 1%. I think it's like 2.9 million or whatever, or however many people it is.
Yeah, a little over two, a little over 2 million.
A little over 2. Okay, great. So so it's a slightly different thing, but it's based off the data and then saying we'll find other data points of people. But those similar audiences on YouTube are great to advertise to, typically. If you've got a good solid list and they're high quality, then you tend to be able to find that you can use that similar audience list. And it's much the same sort of results you would expect from like a really, really good lookalike audience from a customer list patch on Facebook.
Is it matching? What are the data points that it's? I mean, I know you don't know specifically, but is it just because Google knows so much about people? Is that because when you do it for Facebook, Facebook is looking at, okay, how many of the people on your email list are Facebook users, and thus those people we know a lot about. How's Google matching that?
Very similar. So a lot of people have Gmail accounts. A lot of people have, and the amount of data they can get off you is unbelievable, really. It's crazy. Remember, they've been around for a lot longer, so they have a lot of data that goes a long way back as well. It's a very, very powerful. There's so many official stats that apparently here's how they do it and things. I'm not too familiar with it. I don't really look into it too much, to be quite honest. It's like, if it works, it works. And I kind of know a little bit about how those audiences are built out. But yeah, we tend to look at it and think, right, it's the quality versus quantity thing. So sometimes you can have a massive list and it will outperform a really high quality list. Sometimes like your prospect list might outperform your customer list perhaps. And so it's like a way up of like, how many data points does Google have versus how many good quality data points they have. So if you had a real high quality customer list versus a really high quality prospects list, and they're about the same size, then your customer list is likely to beat the prospect list.
Sure.
But if you had a much bigger prospect list compared to your customer list, then there might just be more data points in there so they can find more people like that, for example. So it's good what we tend to do is upload in 3 ways. We upload customers as an individual list, prospects as an individual list, and then we'll combine them and upload a full list, which means you can just play around with those data sets afterwards once they're uploaded.
Are you creating a similar audience list based on the combined list of those two things, or all, or one, or how you create a similar audience?
You can build similar audiences off any pixel tracking as well. So anyone that visits certain pages or buys something from you and it fires off a pixel, you can build similar audiences to those audiences as well. And it'll do it automatically for you. So YouTube just do this for you when you build out your AdWords account. And I keep on saying YouTube, I actually mean Google AdWords. Just that's the platform you use to advertise on YouTube.
Sure.
So so you can combine the audiences. There's so many different options available to you.
Yeah.
So once you upload it, if you just play around with like different options, there's so many different combinations and permutations you can put together and then build similar audiences off that, which is really exciting.
All right, so we're going to stop right there with part 1 of my interview with Tom and then finish the discussion on YouTube ads in part 2. We're going to be covering what kind of video quality is best for different types of businesses, how long your YouTube video ad should be, the anatomy of a high converting YouTube ad, including what to be saying in your video, what kind of landing pages are converting best right now, and then also we're going to talk about what type of video ad that Tom has been testing working right now really well. It's giving one of his clients a 30% increase in opt-ins and a 50% increase in sales. Tom's going to break down exactly what's giving him those kind of results.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that podcast. And if you want to get more information and more great content just like that, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. You'll see the button on the video right now.